Hey, what's up guys, and welcome to this fourth episode of the TDS repair series. And today we're gonna service my Fox 36 factory fork. So guys, I was waiting for this video for so long. I'm so excited to service my fork. It's gonna be a huge job, but I'm really excited to do that. So without further ado, let's just get started. So for the Allen keys, you're gonna use the 2, 2.5, 4, 5, and 6mm Allen keys. Next, you'll need a plastic-ended hammer, a shock pump, a torque wrench, a 32 and 28mm flat sockets. Round-ended sockets won't work, you're just gonna deteriorate your suspension and in the worst case, damage it. You'll also need a 15 and 10mm sockets, a wrench for the seals you're gonna see later, an oil syringe with CCs, a pick set, some isopropyl alcohol, a shock grease like the SRAM butter, silicoleum or RockShox suspension grease, then the suspension oil. For my fork I need some 5-weight PTFE infused Fox oil and 20-weight Fox Gold oil, but you might not have the same oil depending on your fork model and year. A Fox chart is linked down in the description. A seal driver to make life way easier and the correct one according to your suspension. A Fox dust wipers rebuild kit, again according to your suspension. Some shop towels and a long stick to get inside of those upper and lower legs. Alright, so the first thing we're gonna do is that we're gonna remove the fork from the bike. Alright guys, so here we go. Now I've got my fork with me, and now we gotta clean it with the isopropyl alcohol. Even though it's already cleaned and all, we still gotta clean it one more time. Alright, so now that it's all clean, now we gotta record the settings. So take your shock pump and record the settings that are currently on the fork. Alright, so mine is at 58 psi. Now we're gonna have to remove the pressure from the fork, because it's really important to work with a low pressure fork. If it's high pressure, it can just blow up and it's not gonna be good. So yeah, get rid of all of the air inside. Alright, that is perfect. So, alright, so now put your fork in this position. Now we're gonna remove the lower leg. Alright, so now we're gonna put our fork in this position because we actually don't want the oil from the fork to get on the floor while we unscrew those lower legs. So yeah, first things first, we gotta unscrew those rebound knobs. Using a 2mm Allen key, you just gotta loosen that little bolt. That's the low speed rebound. So now this high speed rebound just gets off. Alright, so now you can see that there is a 10mm foot nut and a 15mm foot nut. So now we're just gonna break those loose. So taking my 10mm socket, breaking that loose. And be careful because there's gonna be a crush washer. Be careful not to lose that one. So here it is, the little crush washer, and here's that little nut. Take the crush washer aside, but keep the nut. And thread that back in just a few turns. Still want to let a little gap between the lower leg and the nut. You're gonna see why a little later. So now let's take our 15mm socket and let's loosen that one. And there also must be a crush washer. In my case, it is stuck in the nut, like right here. Now I'm also gonna take that aside. I'm gonna thread that back in a few turns. Same as the other one, we're gonna leave a little gap right here. So now you wanna make sure that your fork is really angled up, just a little bit up, because now we're gonna tap on those nuts to get those lower legs off. because there actually is a lot of friction and stiction that just keeps the lower legs on the upper legs, but now we're just gonna break that stiction. Alright, so now take your hammer and your 10mm socket, place that 10mm socket right here, and just tap. Just like this. Now take the 15mm socket and do the exact same thing but on the other. Alright, so now take those off. Alright, so now you will see that on this part, the little metallic upper leg part was just sucked inside of the lower legs. And this means that there's probably a little bit of air trapped in the negative air chamber. And that also means that it's a great time to service your fork. Alright, and now you gotta find a bucket, a random bucket, because we don't want the oil to drip on the floor. We want to catch it with a bucket or something, you know, an old used bucket or something. I mean, this is not big enough, but if you have a huge bucket, that's a lot better than this small little thing. Alright, so now we're just gonna take them and we're gonna turn them so they're now vertical. Let the oil drip from the lower legs. Alright, so now we're just gonna separate the lower legs from the upper legs. Shoot. And that is definitely a way too small bucket because I just spilled it all over the place. So as you can see, it's quite sucked in. So there is some air trapped in the upper legs right here. Alright guys, so now that we have removed the lower legs, I'm gonna leave them on the table right here. But for now, what you wanna do is just take your isopropyl alcohol and just spray on those upper legs. But be careful, you really have to use the isopropyl alcohol. Any other degreaser or anything like this is not gonna work. Putting a lot of it on the bottom right here, everywhere, cleaning it really well. You don't have to do this, but we're also going to service the air chamber and the damper. If you want, you can only service the lower legs, but we already have the upper legs just staring at us, so why not just give them a proper clean? It's obviously going to be a much better feeling, but you don't have to do this. It's not mandatory. Alright, so now that you've cleaned everything properly, we're going to angle the upper legs up. Alright, so now right here you will see a little ring, a snap ring. This is a snap ring that you gotta remove. Just be careful so that it doesn't pop up on your face. Well, me, it's obviously gonna do that because I have a camera like 2 inches from the workstation. Alright, so now you heard that little pop. That was the negative air chamber I was talking about. Alright guys, so now we're gonna remove that air chamber from there. You've heard that little pop. Sometimes it won't happen, so you're gonna have to screw that nut back in there and pull on the nut so it's easier for you to pull, and then you're probably gonna hear that pop. So if this thing doesn't want to come out, just take an Allen key and press on the valve right there and then pull out. It's gonna be way easier. So yeah, now you just gotta clean that exactly as we did with the isopropyl alcohol. Alright, so the negative air chamber I was talking about is this piece right here. There was air stuck between the cap and this part right here, the top. This is the positive air chamber, so that's where we release all the air out. But here there's sometimes some air still stuck in there. So yeah, that's why it makes this pop sound. Alright, so as you know, I have a new cartridge for 170mm that I'm gonna put in my upper legs a little later. So now you gotta find a long stick just like this, and we're gonna put a rag on here. We're gonna twist it and we're gonna put that inside of the upper leg, and we're gonna twist it just to clean everything up. Alright, so now we're gonna take a clean rag and we're gonna make a little DIY washing stick. Alright, so now you're taking your clean rag and you're going in there and twisting it. Alright, so now I want to clean it even more. So now what I'm gonna do, so now I'm just gonna take off that cap. Where is the air valve? Alright, so this thing is using a 32mm socket, and now we're just gonna unscrew that. So the best way is to actually take it and grab it like this, and then unscrew this guy. And by the way, here are your spacers. If you sometimes just want to add or remove a spacer, you can just remove the air and unscrew this with a 32mm socket. Alright, so now as you can see, it has a lot of grease on here. Now we're just gonna wipe that clean. Here we go. Now take your rag and just slide it through. Twist it. To have some better results, you can use your isopropyl alcohol. Just spray some inside. Alright, so now we are gonna put that back in. So yeah, just put that back in. Alright, so when I unscrewed that, I felt like it was something around 30 Newton meters. So now you're gonna grab your torque wrench and screw that to 30 Newton meters. So now let's pass to greasing the air chamber. Alright, so here I've got my new air cartridge. This thing is the 170mm cartridge. Alright, so now we're gonna put a little bit of grease on all of the seals and on this little branch right here. Take a bit of SRAM butter, and that's really important that it's SRAM butter or it is Slicolium, one of these two. But other than that, I don't know any other company that makes such a light grease. So yeah, take a little bit of SRAM butter and put on this seal right here. This black one. And now on this one right here. And now let's put some on this stick right here. You don't want to put a lot of grease on here. You just want to put, just a little bit more than a thin layer. Alright, now it's greased. Now we can put that back in. Alright, now take your cartridge and insert that inside. And now you will see that the air just wants to push that off. So now, same thing as usual, you're gonna take a little Allen key, you're gonna press on that valve. Alright, so now we don't have to fight the air that is pushing out. Alright, so now we're gonna take our holding ring, and now we're just gonna stick that in there. Be really careful doing this job. Place that in. Now with a pick, make sure that it is seated in there correctly. Alright, so in my case it is. Alright, so that's it. That's how you service your air chamber. So now let's pass to the damper side. Alright, so first things first, we're going to use a 2mm Allen key to get those adjusters off. So now hold your low speed compression and unscrew that little nub. This little tiny screw, you really don't want to lose it. Now you can take off your compression adjusting wheels. Take those off. So it's the 28mm socket that we're just gonna unscrew that. Just unscrew that. Alright, now we can simply take that damper off there. Here we go. That massive damper. Alright, so now we're gonna do the same thing we did. Slide that through. In this part right here. Now wipe this damper. Use the isopropyl alcohol. Alright, so now we don't have to lubricate any of this. Now we're just gonna put that in and torque it to 28 Newton meters. So I'm gonna torque it to 30. Alright, now start by screwing that in by hand. Those are some tiny threads in there, so make sure that it is on the right thread. Now you can start using your socket, but by hand. Make sure that it's going out and in really nicely. Alright, so now we're gonna screw that in at 30 Newton meters. Alright, that is perfect. Alright, now next thing is to put those compression wheels back on place. And screwing them in with a 2mm Allen key. Alright, now make sure that everything is working properly. Alright, now this one is working. Alright, so now we've done the upper legs, now let's pass to the lower legs. I'm seeing a little problem with my seals. Like right there, if you can see, my seal is not normal, it's falling. So I did a great job to service it because it was actually broken a bit. It's not normal. those seals. You see, this one it's broken. So yeah, it's, I don't know what really happened, bro. It's not normal. All right, now the other one that is also freaking broken. Yeah, it's really weird, but yeah, those are things that happen. Well, I'm sorry, those are the foam rings. Those are not the seals. The seals are these things right here. Those are the seals that we're still gonna remove. I like to use this wrench to actually get them off. So you place that in there like this, and you just pull. Alright, here we go. Alright, here we go, the second one. Spray some isopropyl alcohol in there. And then just grab your DIY thing. Alright, now it's all very clean, the right side. Now we're gonna go to the left side, and you gotta change the rag because you don't want any cross-contamination, because there are different oils in each leg. Alright, and now we should be really clean. Alright, so now it's all clean, and now we're gonna put some new things inside, and for this you're gonna have to buy a Fox rebuild kit specifically to your model. On this one you have some foam rings and you have the seals. You also have some crush washers and some other little parts. Alright, so this one you really gotta cut it in half. Here we go. Now let's just put everything on the table right here. And this is the ring that you can already put on your upper legs. That's the sag ring. And putting that on the air chamber side. So now you're gonna need two different types of oil. You're gonna need the Fox 20 weight gold oil. And you're also gonna need the Fox 5 weight PTFE infused oil. So now we're gonna grab our 20 weight gold oil. And now we are gonna put a little bit of this oil in the bag right here. Not too much, just a little bit. And now you're gonna put these foam rings in there. And you're just gonna let them soak all of this gold oil. Looks a little bit like maple syrup. Now we're gonna take a little bit of that 20 weight gold oil on our fingertip. And now we're gonna go and place that on the inside right here. We're gonna place that on the inside right here on both of them. Right, now we're gonna grab those new seals. And we're gonna put a tiny bit of 20 weight infused, 20 weight gold oil. Alright, so now you're gonna use this tool. This is a seal driver. This is just a really nice tool because putting those seals by hand, it's nearly impossible. I mean, it's really hard. But by using this tool, it's really easy. And this tool is also gonna be linked down in the description. Now, place it like this. I'll take your lower legs, put this one like this, take a hammer and just tap on top. Alright, this sound means that we are in. Alright, so now you can see it's well seated inside. So now let's do the same thing with the other one. Take this one, place it like this, place it in there, and now just tap it. So take these foam rings, let them drop all of the oil, all of the excess. Now you can take one and place that inside right there. Alright, perfect. Now it's well seated in there. Take this foam ring, put this one in here. Alright, now here it is seated in there. Now take your clean rag, well, sort of clean rag, and just wipe all the excess little bit in there. Now guys, take a clean rag and wipe the inside of that seal. You know, that little bumpy, like that concave part. Just wipe all the oil in there because we're gonna put some SRAM butter in there. Just like this. And now put some SRAM butter on this seal on top in that little drainage thing. Alright, so now pretty much everything is clean. It's back on those two divided parts. So now let's just assemble the upper legs and the lower legs and yeah, finish this job. Alright, so now you gotta put these lower legs onto the upper legs. So the way you do that, it's quite simple. Put that like this. Alright. Sometimes they do get caught on the foam rings like it just did with me right now. But yeah, you just take that off, replace those foam rings and put it back there. Now you can see that one is nearly sticking out, so we don't want this. We want it to leave like this. So now we're gonna pour some oil in both of these baths. So to make sure you use the correct amount of oil and the right oil, I'll leave a link down in the description that will lead you to the Fox site where it's written what oil to use depending on your model, the year, and how much of it to use. So for me, this is a 2022 Fox 36 factory with the Grip 2 damper. So on the damper side, I'm gonna put 40 cc's of the Fox 5 weight PTFE infused oil, and on the air side, I'm gonna put 10 cc's of the 20 weight gold oil. Alright, so I am gonna use a syringe, and I recommend you to also use a syringe. You can do it without a syringe, but from a graduated cylinder, pouring that inside of there, it's not really handy, but with the syringe, really easy to do. Now let's grab our 5 weight PTFE infused oil. Now I'm gonna take 40 cc's of this one. Alright, so this is exactly 40 cc's that I'm gonna pour inside of the damper side. Make sure that it is really the damper side, and in my case it is. I can't really go wrong on this one. Alright, great. Alright, so now take your 20 weight gold oil. I'm gonna put 10 cc's. Alright, so here I have 10 cc's of the gold Fox oil. Now let me pour that in the air bath. Alright, so now we can just slide it back in. Alright, here we go. Now grab your 2 new crush washers. So the small one goes on the right, so on the air side, and the big one goes on the other one. So now we're gonna start with the damper side. Take that nut, place that in there, screw that in. Same with the small one. Take it, place it right in there. Alright, so now you gotta make sure that those crush washers are sitting in there correctly inside of the... So the torque on these bottom nuts, it's not that much. I think I'm gonna go with 10. Well, the thing here is that they just gotta crush those crush washers so that there's no oil leaking. Alright, so now take your isopropyl alcohol, take a rag, and now just spray on here and just clean that. Now clean the whole suspension. Alright, so now we just gotta put those rebound wheels and the protective cap, and then we're done. Then you will see right here, there is a flat surface on this little screw right here. So that's where you want to screw in your little bolt. Place that little bolt where is the flat surface. Alright, so now everything's working properly and we are done. Alright, here we go guys. Now we've serviced our fork. Now I've put the air inside. Now I just gotta put it back on the bike. Alright guys, here we go. Now I have my front suspension on the bike. I'm really happy of the result. It's working. That's just amazing. My suspensions got bigger. That's just so cool. Isn't that cool? That is so damn cool. So yeah guys, see you in the next video with whether the dropper post or the brakes. See you!